Hello and welcome to our Modern Latin American History class. My name is Brandon Morgan and I am the instructor for our course. In this video, I want to walk you through the course navigation and basic overview of where to find everything that you'll need for our class here in CNM Learn or Blackboard. Before I jump into that, I just wanted to mention that I understand that many of us are not planning on taking classes online this fall. Uh, Many of us were hoping to have our classes in person, but that is just not able to be the case right now. So please let me know whenever I can help with online learning. If you're not sure how things should work in an online class, um, any question, whatever it might be, don't hesitate to ask. There's no such thing as asking too many questions, and I'm always happy to help. Particularly with platforms like Twitter or TikTok, I understand that many of us will not have experience using those. They're great for helping us to, for one, build a collaborative timeline together on Latin American history over the course of the semester, but also for kind of a jumping off point for class discussions about the readings and podcasts and videos that we'll be looking at over the course of the semester. So, again, I think they're great platforms, but I understand that there's a little bit of a learning curve, and I'm happy to help. Please note that there are tutorials for both inside the reading tweets and the timeline tabs here in the course content section of our course in CNM Learn. Please take advantage of those and watch those so that you understand exactly how to get started with those. Let's see. So going from here, if you're watching this video, you will have already clicked on the Start Here button. Please do click into the Start Here module. Much of the information there is kind of for reference. There is a Jumpstart course if you've never taken an online class before. I called it a course. I think they do too. It's something that Distance Learning has put together, but it's more of a tutorial just to help you figure out where to go and how to get acquainted with online learning. So if you need that, please take advantage of it. There are links to the syllabus, but also to some FAQs and other kinds of help references that you may or may not need as you work on our class this semester. So please use the Start Here module to find those kinds of things. The syllabus, of course, contains a link to the syllabus, which I've already sent out a couple days before the course began. It also contains a link to the instructions for the journal entries. You can get to all of the instructions for all of the assignments from the syllabus itself. So as long as you understand what's going on in the syllabus and in all of the learning modules, you'll never miss an assignment and you'll know exactly what you need to be doing. All of these other things are just here for ease of access and to help you out along the way. So again, another way of saying that would be there are multiple ways of getting to all of the things that we need for class. But if you go to the syllabus and the learning modules and go step by step, you'll be able to find them all. Please do click into the instructor information section. Besides just some information about my background, a photo of my family last Christmas time, taking a balloon ride, there are some guidelines about my response times to texts and emails and tweets, grading, as well as the late policy. I accept late work, so please understand that. Let me know if you're going to be missing something or being late with something, but I'm happy to work with you as we move along this semester. This gives some explanations about the required readings, and if you have an older edition of the Problems in Latin American History book, it has a document that you can use so that you could use that 4th edition rather than the 5th edition. I can't vouch for any of those previous editions because they're so different, but if you have the 4th, that will work for our purposes. Also take a look at the netiquette policy here. All right, as promised, everything is contained in the learning modules, and all of these other tabs here will just help you jump to the particular assignment that you want to be working on. I'm not going to show you Unit 1. Unit 1 runs for only 1 week, unlike most of the other units in the class that run for 2 weeks. Um, everything in Unit 1 is due by Sunday the 27th. There we're doing introductions, getting started on Twitter, talking about how to study history. We're also talking about how to define Latin America. So really big questions, but just kind of thinking in broad ways that will help us to have a sort of springboard into the rest of what we'll be doing in class. In Unit 2, we'll be jumping into Latin American history, having kind of a quick overview of the colonial period. There's a whole other class you can take, History 1170, on early Latin American history that goes to indigenous histories pre-1492, as well as colonial situations that were set up thereafter. So I highly recommend that class as well if you have not yet taken it. We'll touch on that a little bit, but we're mostly going to start with the independence era, about 1810, and move forward. So that's what we're getting into here. I'm going to show you just Unit 2 because all of these learning modules are set up essentially the same way. So you'll see an intro and objective section in which I have a couple of paragraphs that just explain basically these are the main themes and issues that we're going to be talking about over the next 2 weeks. Then it gives you the list of work we'll be doing. So by the first Sunday, you need to do the readings, listen to the podcast, view the film clips if you're able to, and I'll say more about that in a second. Post your reading tweets, and think about a topic for the timeline ID step. It's good to have your placeholder by that first Sunday. During the second week, by the second Wednesday, so that Wednesday of the second week, you'll submit the identification step of the timeline assignment. And again, you can see the instructions for that either by going to the timeline submissions area here in the learning module, the timeline tab here in the course content section of the class in CNM Learn, or by going to the syllabus. So that's due the second Wednesday. By the second Sunday, or the last day of the unit, you'll need to submit your connection step for the timeline assignment and have completed your journal entry. To navigate through these learning modules, you can either use these arrows here or the table of contents. Each learning module will have our guiding question listed. So in each of our modules, we're focusing on a specific question in all of the work that we do, whether it's on Twitter, the timeline, or in our journals. And we're thinking about how the materials that we've read and viewed can help us answer that question, that historical question. And so we'll all be coming at it from kind of different angles, depending on our own experiences, our own perspectives on the past and on Latin America, our own reading of the materials, and so on. So again, you'll view the video for me to explain a little bit about the question for the unit, and I've written a little paragraph about that. The next section in Unit 2 is unique to Unit 2. It's about reading strategies. This is not available in all of the learning modules. There was back in my cubicle office at MJG and Westside campus. It's been a while since I've worked there. I miss it. But here I just talk about reading for a history class, how to approach reading analytically, how to approach kind of large volume of reading that you're expected to do in history classes. So please do watch that. Let me know if you have questions or could use any help with reading. Each unit has a set of assigned readings, principally in the Wood and Alexander book, that's the Problems in Modern Latin America book, or Chastain, that's Born in Blood and Fire. Those are our two main texts for the class, the ones that we'll be looking at most directly and that we'll be using as the sources for the work that we'll be doing. There's also a podcast episode listed here in each of the units. This one happens to be from NPR's Throughline podcast, but they come from a variety of different podcasts on different topics and issues in Latin American history, or some of them, like this one, kind of try to think about how history relates to the present. Certain historical events in Latin America relate to what's going on now. So that will be there as well as another resource that you can draw on in completing your assignments. These optional readings are exactly that. They're optional, so if you don't get to them, that's okay. But if you would like more information, they can be helpful. And then the questions to consider as you read. Those, you don't have to do any sort of assignment with those. They're just to help you think about the readings as you work through them. So that's the way that the reading section in each learning module is set up. Each learning module also contains film clips. And as I've noted here, film clips are meant to enhance what you've been reading about, give you another perspective on what we've been studying. But I do understand that you may not be able to watch them all or even any of them sometimes, and that's okay. The readings are where our focus is, so these are kind of secondary. If you have time to do them, that's great. And if they help you to better understand what's going on, again, that's what they're there for. But don't sweat it if you can't get to all of them. Next, I have a section that reminds you to go to Twitter to complete the Reading Tweets assignment. Remember, over here in the Reading Tweets tab, that's where you can access the assignment guidelines. They're also available through the syllabus. Here's our course hashtag. If you don't know what that means, make sure you watch the video tutorial in the Reading Tweets tab. That will explain what's going on with that. You'll post 10 comments and 5 replies for each unit. And of course, that's just a kind of minimum. You can go beyond that. And please do, especially because Twitter is confined to only 280 characters per tweet. So if you need to write more, that's totally fine. But this is our way of kind of taking notes on what we read and talking about the things that we found fascinating, interesting, shocking, striking, whatever, about the material as we're trying to answer that guiding question. Next, in each learning module, you will find the timeline submissions. So what this will do is you probably will have to click to launch. It also has the instructions for the timeline assignment, so if you need those, you can get them directly there. But you'll click here and it will take you to a folder where you'll submit the document that you've created for the timeline assignment. You'll also, as you'll see in the video tutorial and instructions that you can find here in the timeline tab, you'll submit that work both here on CNM Learn and on the class timeline. That's for the ID step as well as the connection step. Remember, the ID steps are due the second Wednesday of each unit. Connection steps are due on the second Sunday or the last day of each unit. So this has actually taken us out of the learning module and over to the timeline tab. So I'm going to click on the timeline tab just to show you what I meant when I said that there are multiple ways of getting at everything. So the instructions and the video tutorial that I've been alluding to are here. So you'll click here to go to the class timeline on Tiki-Taki. Here are the instructions for what to do. Here are the video tutorials for how to use Tiki-Taki, what to do with the kind of content of the assignments, and so on. Please do note the number for this class used to be 1182. So if I say something about 1182 in this tutorial, I haven't lost my mind. It's just an older video. It still applies though. All of the information there is still relevant. As I've scrolled down, here are all of these submission areas for the various units in our class. So for the timeline, the first timeline submission, you can get to that through the learning module, or you can get it here. Same thing with all of these. So I'm going to click here, and this should look familiar because we were just at the Unit 2 timeline submissions. You can also get to it just through the timeline tab. And again, that's helpful if you've been working on the unit, you've been in the learning module, but you've closed CNM Learn because you went to do the readings and work on Twitter. You come back here and you know you want to go to work on the timeline. You don't necessarily need to go through the learning module. You can go straight to those timeline submission areas there in the timeline tab. All right, so back here, just to show you, you can use the table of contents to jump ahead. We've already looked at timeline submissions, so next is the journal. The journal entry is our way of kind of rounding out each unit. As before, you'll click to launch, and this will open what you can get to through the journal tab. You can click here for the journal assignment instructions, and you'll submit your work here by clicking Create Journal Entry. You can either type your journal directly into the box, or you can type your work in a Word document or similar and attach it. If you like to keep records for yourself, and I mean, thinking about how I would do it, I would probably do it in a Word document and attach it, just so that I make sure I have a copy in case the internet goes down or something like that happens with CNM Learn. Because unfortunately, that kind of thing can happen. I click the back button so that we're back in the learning module. Each module also has, as its kind of ending point, self-assessment and looking ahead. This just gives you a list of everything you should have done in this module or this unit, and then the looking ahead mostly has to do with the final project, because that doesn't come up until Unit 6 at the very end of the course. There are no exams, so this is kind of the major project that you'll be completing. You can click into the Final Project tab here or that section of the syllabus to get more information about the two choices that you have for that. Um, Everyone will need to read Ay Rigoberta Menchú, but if you'd rather not write the paper on that book, you could choose to do a review of the movie También la lluvia, or even The Rain. Again, there's more information about that, where to find the film, all of that, over here in the Final Project. So that's what the learning modules all look like. That's how they're set up. The rest of them are set up very similarly, so that you can just follow straight through and know exactly what you need to complete. Check out extra credit, because there are extra credit opportunities. There are a couple different speaker events that will be taking place via Zoom this semester that you can take part in to earn extra credit. There's also a timeline assignment you can do at the end of class to earn extra credit, so do check those things out. Make sure that you look at the announcements regularly. I use that quite often to communicate with the entire class. You can access your email here. Um, I may change the name of office hours to chat hours or something like that, because I don't have an office. We're not meeting in an office, but this is when I'm available. You can click here. It will open a Zoom window, and we can have a video conference about anything that you're wondering about or need help with. I will schedule some optional Zoom meetings that you'll get to by clicking on this link periodically throughout the course of the term. Hopefully those are helpful if you need them. If you can't make my regular office hours, those are on Tuesday mornings, let me know and we can set up a different appointment. My grades, pretty self-explanatory. That's where you can go check your grades. Help, these are great resources for a lot of things, technological and otherwise, you might need help with in our course. I'm going to move this Chastain intro videos up to the course content. I forgot to do that earlier, so I'll fix that when we're done. But that's just a resource the publisher has put out, that where the author of Born in Blood and Fire has some videos that may or may not be interesting to you. They're just extra there if they are of use to you. All right, so that's everything that's in our course. Please, again, don't hesitate to ask questions whenever you have them. I hope that you enjoy our class, and I'm really looking forward to studying Latin America with you.